And again, I'm not saying that everybody who does UFO research is into the occult. I don't believe that. But on the other hand, I can't deny that there's just a lot of this stuff that is just hitting you in the face that's similar. And so the question was, is the discussion of extraterrestrial stuff all about cults? Or I would guess you would put the occult in there as well. You know, it really depends what you're talking about. When we started thinking about this conference, we wanted this conference to address not ufology and not abductions and things like that. Those things are naturally related to the question of extraterrestrial life, but the areas are actually different. In other words, if you took ufology as an umbrella discipline, if any of you have read The Facade or seen my website, you know, and I would be in concert with Dr. Ross here, that much of what passes for ufology is very occult-laden. Now, that doesn't mean all of it is, but much of it is. Other parts of it break down into different areas. But all of that is separate from the question of, is there extraterrestrial life out there? This is a question that has been discussed in the church for centuries. I mean, Aquinas, when Aquinas addresses the question of extraterrestrial life, he's not wondering and speculating if it's related to ghosts or paranormal visions or these new age kind of things that get lumped into the issue. And so what we wanted to do here was we wanted to say, hey, this isn't about ufology. It's about this age-old question that in the SETI program, for instance, has been approached scientifically. So we wanted to approach it academically. That's a long way of saying it really depends on what your friend is thinking you came to listen to. If you wound up going to, something about abductions, there's a lot of similarity between abduction claims and satanic ritual abuse. That's just a fact. 1992 MIT conference on alien abductions. There's a very long paper on that, and it's not just one or two correlations, it's 30 or 40. That doesn't mean that that's an explanation for every experience, every event. But these kind of things are very traceable in the literature, both in modern era and the medieval era that were often associated with the occult activity. In my mind, that doesn't have anything to do with the question we're talking about today. The idea that ufology is related to the occult is not a Christian dogma. Have you ever heard of Jacques Vallée? He is not a Christian. He's the French ufologist. Vallée, if you read his books, and he's been involved in it since the days of Hynek, he is not a hack. He's a good researcher, he's a good scholar, but he believes that 90+% of the UFO field or phenomenon is either a misunderstanding of what people observe or it is a direct occult thing. He is not a Christian. In fact, he has some real problems with the Catholic Church, and he's very vocal about that. John Keel, the Mothman prophecies. These people have no religious axe to grind, but they notice occult motifs in the literature they read within ufology and in the medieval era, during the occult renaissance in America, the spiritualist era, all the way back. And what they're doing is they're being honest. They're saying, look, a lot of this stuff, the similarities are just there. And again, I'm not saying that everybody who does UFO research is into the occult. I don't believe that. But on the other hand, I can't deny that there's just a lot of this stuff that is just, hitting you in the face that's similar. And so I think Christians tend to see that, plus the media, the TV, how it gets associated with really scary things. And they make that jump, but that it isn't the way it used to be. It used to be a legitimate question. I think it still is, but I do think that the field of ufology can be parsed into the people who do science, the people who do serious philosophy and theology, and then there's occultism in whatever form it is. And unfortunately, people who don't read enough about it will draw one conclusion or the other. People like you get stuck in the middle.